Welcome to Network Has, where I'll be talking to you about many things IT related. But this topic that we're going to be talking about today is where to begin on our IT networking journey. So this is not scripted. There's no script. This is just a conversation that I'm having with everyone out there in the world. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about my experiences, and I'll show you a couple of websites that can get you going. So for me personally, I'm an IT instructor at a institute, tertiary institute here in Melbourne, Australia. I guess if you're in the US, it's kind of like a community college, but we teach students from various backgrounds, but particularly those who are in the Australian Defence Force. We teach them cybersecurity, IT, networking, Windows, Cisco, IT essentials, etc. So I have had worked in an MSP, medium service provider or managed service provider that assists organizations, companies with their IT needs. So me personally, I worked into many different industries in the banking, finance, in the property management sector. But my passion was always IT, right? But my issue was I didn't know how to get in there, and especially in Australia, because I had this belief that industry was already full, that there were too many employees out there with high skill sets. So even though it was a passion, something that I really loved, I'm IT crazy. I love the iPhone and Android phones. Got like PlayStation games, everything you can imagine. I was something that I was really passionate about, and I just really loved IT. But I was never confident enough to take this first step. You might find yourself in the same situation as well. So what I did about it is COVID-19 was something that affected all of us, and the business that I was trying to get into, COVID-19 pretty much destroyed any hope of that working. So I thought, well, because in Melbourne, Australia, we had the most severest lockdown that you could possibly imagine. We were locked inside. We couldn't even go outside. Maybe I think it was like half an hour walk for exercise, or go to the supermarkets or the pharmacy to get essentials. But we couldn't even visit our family. Even our brothers and sisters, our friends, we had no opportunity to meet or chat with them. So I thought during this lockdown, I might do something productive, do something where I can change my career. Now, thankfully in Australia, we had government support. So the government helped us out. So finance for me was okay. It was a little bit less than what I was used to, but it was enough to sustain and pay bills. So in that time, I thought there's a couple of things I can do at home. I can't work. The industry that I'm in is completely destroyed. COVID destroyed that completely, which was in property investments. Everyone panicked and they didn't want to buy, they didn't want to sell, so they just locked down for about 4 or 5 months in Australia. So I thought during this time I would do something productive, and I went into IT. Now the first thing I did was previously in the past I had already have A+ and Network Plus experience, and I always tried to chase the Cisco certifications, which is very, very, very challenging and difficult. The exams, so I always thought that the exam material, like I understood everything, but going to the exam, it's a really challenging and very thorough, the questions they ask on the Cisco exams, if you don't know it in depth, and if you don't know how to do things different ways, you're not going to pass the Cisco, even CCNA, which is really basic, really introductory material. So I thought I'm going to dedicate 8-9 hours a day of me being locked down, and the other time I can spend time with the family that are living with me at home. But I decided that I was going to put 8-9 hours a day into studying for my CCNA, and I did that. And I managed to, so I bought some equipment, and I'll show you a couple of examples where you can get some really cheap in Australia anyway. I'm sure in the US probably, or Europe and other Asian countries, you could find secondhand Cisco equipment. But I bought some, Cost me a couple of $100, not much. I bought a couple of servers. They were the Dell servers, and where I ran VMware on them, and really, really awesome stuff, right? So the first part of my journey that I recommend people to go on is to consider seriously doing CCNA. If you're an absolute beginner and you don't know anything about IT, or better still, you know a lot about IT, but you need to put all that knowledge and focus it into one area. And I think a great idea, I didn't do this myself, is to go down the CompTIA path with A+ and Network+. Now, I had already done that years ago. Even though I wasn't working in IT, I still did it because I was very passionate. I really loved IT. So I did A+ and Network+. So I was able to do the basics and essentials part of the CCNA course. And, it was fun. So the materials I used to learn and to help the CCNA. So first of all, I went and got some switches, some routers, and I'll provide a list of all the different devices that I've got down below in the details section. But you can use Packet Tracer, and that's great, but there's nothing like real world. I'll give you an example. There was one, I was trying to connect 2 switches together, and they weren't working. Nothing I did, the cables, I swapped the cables are working fine. But for example, some of the switches were really old. And that's fine. That's okay to use old switches for learning purposes, because you can break them, you can throw them around, not a problem. $20, $30, you can take the loss if something happens to it. But one of them didn't have the auto negotiation feature. So it's kind of long story short that in modern day switches and routers and devices, if you get cables that are straight through crossover, and that's a topic for another time, but these modern switches and routers can auto negotiate. So if you've got a crossover from a switch to a router, it shouldn't work. Usually in the old days it didn't work, but with auto negotiation, auto sense, whatever they call that, I should know that I'm an expert on that. But what will happen now is in these devices they'll auto negotiate, right? But I had an old switch and it didn't auto negotiate, so it wasn't working. So where am I going with this? Because I had a real world experience, a real physical experience that failed, it took me a day to figure this out. I tried all these different cables, all the other switches and routers were working fine, but this particular switch just did not work. It had an old iOS, an operating system, the Cisco operating system, but it taught me a very, very, very valuable lesson. That if something's not working, if the connection's not working, go to the physical layer, right? Test the cables. And I went through my troubleshooting process. And then I worked out that by getting a straight through cable from a switch to a router, it worked. And I thought, but auto negotiation should. Then I went and did some research. I went to Google and said that this particular model, this particular operating system, it's not auto negotiation is not available on it. So that's to get real world equipment. If you're doing your A+ and you're starting from scratch, definitely go out and buy some routers. Sorry, some computer equipment. Definitely go out. Now, if you're in Australia, there's a couple of, and I don't have any affiliations with any of these organizations, right? No links. You won't see any links getting promotional codes or getting any kickbacks. This is just me having a general discussion with, having a coffee, having a chat to everyone out there. I wish I could have my own coffee at home, but Starbucks will have to do. So again, I'm not getting paid by Starbucks. Maybe one day, but for now, I'm just drinking coffee, whatever coffee. I might make some homemade coffee a little later on. But so Scorptech is an Australian, Melbourne, I think. I'm not sure. They deliver Australia-wide. So they've got some New South Wales, two New South Wales and a couple in Victoria. And they're pretty good price. Price-wise, they're pretty good. So for people starting on the A+, buy some IT equipment. Have a look at the CPUs. Have a look at the cases. Have a look at, all these components as you're learning. Buy these and build them. Build these systems and fail. Break them. This is going to cost money, but this is the best way to learn. If you don't have a lot of money to burn, then you can go to computer swap meets. I'm not sure if they're open after COVID, but buy some secondhand parts. The thing with IT and computers, and I'm giving you this advice straight away, unless you've got a photographic memory and you can remember everything, IT is not going to be for you unless you get your hands onto physical stuff, build things, break things. Don't worry, it's part of it. I bought a system the other day, and it's still not working. It's driving me crazy. The motherboard, the lights on the motherboard saying the CPU wasn't okay, but I bought a new CPU, and it's still not working. Then the RAM lights are not working. So it's costing me money, but I'm getting valuable knowledge. And this is the first time a build ever is not working for me. I build like many computers, and this is the first one that's not working. So it's going to cost me money, but I'm getting knowledge. I'm getting real world knowledge. That's really important. After A+, go to Network Plus. Where Network Plus, you'll learn a bit about IP version 4, IP version 6. You'll learn the things like TCP, IP. They are covered in A+, a little bit, but Network Plus goes into depth, more in depth. After Network Plus, jump straight into CCNA. Employers, I don't care what your okay. Let me rephrase. I do care about your opinions. I do care. Let me just be brutally honest here. And then we're conversation. We're colleagues, right? This is to the general public. Anyone who's just stumbled along, please, you're more than welcome to stay here. But employers, they might employ you, but if you don't have a CCNA and you want to work in the networking, or if you wanted to work in the IT, if you've got CCNA, Cisco, that is going to get people to read your resumes. If you don't have that, they're not going to look at your resume. Unless you've got like a Bachelor of Computer Science or a graduate certificate or something, then they might look at that. But if you don't have CCNA, if you don't have a qualification and you don't have CCNA, if you just put in your resume, I'm just a computer enthusiast, they're not even going to look at your resume. The art to getting a job is to get your resume noticed. Okay. And having CCNA is a great way to get your resume passed through to the actual human resources. How their system works, I don't know exactly how it works on the human resources side, the consultants where you're applying for the job, but you need to get their attention, and that's why having a good resume is a good start. Maybe I'll make a YouTube later. We'll talk about that. And you can see some other goodies here that you can look through. But this is the best way to learn anything in life, really, but especially IT. So have a look at Scorp Tech. That's one place. I mean, of course, you got eBay. So if you want to have a look at the new CPUs out there, the Ryzen. So by looking at this, you get an idea of how much things cost. And when you look at that, say, okay, why is this so expensive? So it's between $350 to $1,100, and you can see all these model numbers there. So you go in there, and with curiosity, you get to learn things, right? So in your IT journey, I highly recommend that you get your own equipment, build your own computers, build your own networks at home. Don't just rely on your wireless router that Telstra or Optus, or if you're over in the US like Verizon or Cox Internet, I think that's what you guys use over there in the US, or wherever you are in the world. Don't just rely on the networking equipment that your companies give you, or that who you're subscribing to. Set a server up at home. Get a switch. physically run cables. If you're not that great, which I'm terrible at that. I get a licensed cabler to run physical cables at home. Then I get like a wireless access point, all this thing at home. You become experts, and that's what you want to do. So you want to get this knowledge so that when you have that job interview, when your resume looking great, you've got your CCNA, whatever it is that you've done with certification. If you got A+, Network Plus, and you get your CCNA, then you'll get interviews. And when you go to the interview, employers are very, very intelligent. They're very smart. They know what they're looking for. By having a discussion, with having a chat, if you know what you're talking about, or if it seems like you know what you're talking about, then you can then pass to the next stage. And this is what it's all about. And the best way, you can get book knowledge, you can read a book, and you can pass the test, but you also need to have a real world knowledge of stuff as well. And if you don't have experience, that's fine. My first job, I did not have any experience, but I got in because basically I was able to convince the employers that I was able to talk to them about the different subjects. So yeah, we're having just a conversation here about what to do. I'm pretty sure this will work around the world as well. And I understand that you don't have a lot of time, or you've got a job, but it can be done. And I have a very low attention span myself. Reading, I need, like when I read the material, the books, it exhausts me. Like I get really, really, really super tired. So I understand the feeling about concentration. So my strategy is I'll read and I'll try my very, very best to retain the information. A lot of times I won't be able to get through the material because we'll be honest, fall asleep because it's boring reading a book. Like for example, I'm reviewing this book here because I did Network Plus a long time ago, but I need to renew it because it was expired. So I'm reading this book here, Network Plus, because I want to get it. Because I'm teaching my students IT essentials, and I'm teaching them Cisco and Microsoft technologies. But it's good to go back and get go through the material and see if I've missed anything. And so I'm reading the book and it's dull and it's boring and I get that, and you and everyone out there in the world will feel the same as well. But persevere. The other thing that I do is I do video training. Now, I have done every type of video training you can think of. There's IT Pro TV, and then there's other ones. IT Pro TV is, let's have a look at it. IT Pro TV. They're very good. Okay. Look, you know what? They're good. But CBT Nuggets is the best by far, by a country mile, the proverbial country mile. And this is the one that I keep subscribing to all the time. Now I'm teaching my students at the tertiary institute that I work at, Microsoft at the moment. Now Microsoft Identity Server, and I'm doing some videos on it as well. But I've got a couple of gaps, some knowledge gaps, right? So I come into the CBT Nuggets, and I am going through and fixing those knowledge gaps so that when I teach the students, then I can address those knowledge gaps. CBT Nuggets is by far the best video content. They have virtual labs. You click on the labs, and there's a virtual lab. So if you don't want to, or you don't have the chance, you don't have the ability, you can't afford to buy your own labs, you can have them here. So again, look, there are nothing wrong with IT Pro, nothing wrong with Udemy, nothing wrong with even getting free YouTube content. I mean, you can go to YouTube and you can go to Network Chuck, for example. He's really good. He's got a free CCNA course right here. Highly recommend it. He's very, very good. Network Chuck has in CBT Nuggets. He has his own. He has a course on Azure. So I learned that from this YouTube. He's got 1.7 million views. So he's a real expert. So really good content. But CBT Nuggets, and again, I'm not getting any kickbacks or anything like that. You can go there yourself. Close the browser and just go there yourself if you like. But that's what I would do. There's another one if you want books. It's called. Just had to think for a second. It's called O'Reilly's. O'Reilly.com. Now I heard about this from Network Chuck. Network Chuck talks to us about materials. You don't need to buy these books anymore. Like this one here, Identity with Windows Server, which you can't see it because of the green screen maybe, but because it's green, of course. And I haven't, again, I'm not a video expert or a cinema, like an artist or anything like that. But these books, let's show the Network Plus book again. That book there, right? It costs a lot of money, and I'm a bit old school, and I like to read books physically. But you go to O'Reilly, you never need to buy a book again. You can subscribe, and I think it's about I'm not sure, $50 US a month, $30. I'm not sure. They do have video content. Now I was learning a little bit about PowerShell because I ran a PowerShell class, and again I had some little knowledge gaps that I wanted to go with that I wanted to address with the students, and I did some videos and I read some books, and let's have a look more at O'Reilly's. And I made my own playlists. I'll go to explore. So they've got recommended, resource share playlists, all topics. So for example, if I'm doing something on PowerShell, I'll just type PowerShell in there. Actually, you know what? Let's have a look at this the Network Plus book. Network Plus. Network Plus. So I got lots and lots of Network Plus resources, and that's the book that I've got. So I got the physical copy of it, which recommended retail is, doesn't have it on the books. Sorry, $60 US. $60. I got it from Amazon for about the same in Australian dollars. But if I subscribe to O'Reilly, I get it free, but with a subscription. Now I think it's like $40 a month. I'm not sure. It's not cheap, but there is a little hack. If you go to I think it's Australia Computer American Computer. Now I shouldn't tell you this because maybe they'll stop doing it. But you know what? We should look after each other. American Computer and Machine, I think. Yeah, American Computing Machinery, I believe it is. Yeah, ACM. If you subscribe to their organization for about $100 US a year, 1 year, they give you free access to O'Reilly's. Now, that's a bit of a hack there. Again, I don't get any kickbacks from other organizations. In fact, if I was smart, if I was clever, I could get money off everyone who subscribed and checked this out by sending a link to O'Reilly, maybe getting a bit of a kickback, but that's not how I operate. I'm a teacher and I want others to succeed. It's not about money for me. I'm preparing this for students, not for making money. I get paid at the tertiary institution anyway, the education institution. So in terms of money, I'm happy. So I want everyone to succeed, and this is a great way. This is a bit of a hack. So let's hack. Let's get as much. Let's all get some advantages as much as we can. So ACM, subscribe for $100 a year. This is how I do it. Now I don't know if it's changed or not. So double check first, because I don't want you to pay $100 and then lose it. Okay, and then you can get that resource. So these are resources. These are books. These are videos. They're whatever you need, right? So yeah, get the physical copies of stuff. Get like real world materials like a Cisco networking gear. Which reminds me, let's have a look let us go to, now this is where I bought my equipment from. So if I go into eBay, now I didn't buy all of them from eBay, but I got some. So if we go to, say, a 1900 series Cisco, let's have a look at what happens here. Here we go, 1900, 1941 there. It's like $55. That's a router, and this router you can use for all of your Cisco CCNA, even CCNP, all the way to CCI, which is third level. You can use this equipment for $49, $60. I mean, and then you can do the same with switches as well. So if we go to, for example, so the 29 series routers are even cheaper, like $20. There's a bit of a postage there, which I think that's a bit too high, but you can see what I'm saying here. Even better, you go to the Facebook markets, and let's have a look. So if I go, this is my personal Facebook. I like the Asian qualifiers for the football. Australia's doing very well in the Asian qualifier. But if you go to Marketplace, these are all the things that, the metrics. Like you can see what I browse for. Little IT equipment, books, desks, because I've been searching for desks. So, but if I search, and I usually do this on the phone, but I search Marketplace and I type Cisco. Look at this, we're getting switches here. We're getting a network switch. Let's have a look at some more photos. $50, $29.60. If we dug even further, we could probably find them even like, look, check this out, the 3500 series, even better, cheaper, $20 each. So that's a great start. $20 for a switch to a Cisco with a we can configure and play around with it on instead of using Packet Tracer. That's a great tool. I highly recommend everyone do this. And get a laptop that's put Linux on it. Put a really old laptop, which might only have 4 gigs of RAM. Put Linux on it. Put Linux CentOS, which is a lightweight version of Red Hat and geared towards the general public. And connect to and I know there's some advanced topics here, but connect to the router and switches. Just by playing around, you're becoming an expert. You're getting real world knowledge, so that when you go to an employer and say to them, I've got a couple of certificates, I've got some independent exams, Cisco exam or Microsoft, whatever it is. But I've also created a home lab, and show them some network diagrams, show them like a technical book that you've created, and show the employers that you're a real expert. This is your first job that you're going into, and they know that you haven't worked in IT before, but this is a great way of showing them, and this is how I did this. Okay, and I only did this at the beginning of last year due to COVID. So, from working in a managed service provider for a couple of months, I got a job teaching in an educational institute. It was a big jump. But because I was able to convince my employers that I knew what I was doing, that I had the independent certifications like Cisco and Microsoft and Linux and all these type of certificates, but I was also able to tell them about the labs that I've built, and I gave them some evidence of what I could do. Now I didn't do everything like in 1 month. I've had like 5-10 years of just at home as a hobby, playing around with IT equipment. So you're not going to learn everything at the same time. Now, the next thing that I'd like you to consider in your IT journey when you're starting now, or when you're changing industries. So we've got your A+, your Network Plus, Cisco, CCNA. Look at the Microsoft certifications there. They've changed a lot, but have a look at a couple of those. Finally, I don't know what your educational history is. If you've got university, or if you've got a diploma or advanced diploma, I'm not really sure what you might have. But there are a lot of universities, because of COVID, because there's no international students coming into Australia, they're very, very open to, based on your life experiences, letting you come in and do a graduate certificate. My highest level of education, I had an advanced diploma in IT many years ago. So I applied to 3 or 4 universities that I can get into a graduate certificate program for cybersecurity. Every single one of them said to me, approved. RMIT, Charles Stewart, Adelaide University, and finally, this is the one that I chose in the end, Edith Cowan University, which is over in Perth. And I've just got one more assignment for that, and then I'll have a graduate certificate. Now I'm going to keep going and get a master's degree, but that's a university degree. I now am university qualified. Seriously consider this. It took me 6 months to do this, and it was everything I learned in A+, Network+, and Cisco. The 3 subjects that will get me the graduate certificate is in here. Now, the people watching this content from overseas, I am sure that there are community colleges in US or Canada or the equivalent in Europe will have this. The universities that right now are desperate for students, and the governments, they really are spending a lot of money, especially Australia, in the cybersecurity sector. Australia is under attack with cyber criminals and malicious actors out there in the world. So Australia is funding. You might even be able to do this degree or this graduate certificate or this master's at a much, much cheaper and discounted rate. So really look into that. You'll find within 6 months, you should be able to get a new job based on your personality, based on your positive energy. You've got to be positive. You've got to be I can do this. I can contribute to this organization. And don't go there saying that you're going to take over the company. So you have to have confidence, but don't be too aggressive as well. If you can show that you're not too aggressive, but you're confident and that you can make massive contributions to the organization, plus you have your independent, your industry certifications like Cisco, CCNA, A+, Network+, and you're confident and you've got some real world knowledge, and if you can add a university that's relevant like cybersecurity to that, so in 6 months time you'll be able to get your first, you might not get a 6-figure sum. You might start at like 50,000, which is a little bit, not that, like in Australia, in terms of Australia, it's not that crash hard. It's not amazing, but it's a start. You might even you might have another job that's higher than it or lower. I'm not really sure. But you get your foot in the door, 3 months, 6 months, bring to the table, to say to your organization, this is what I've done. And at the same time, do some more qualifications. Go for your CCNP, which is the next level of Cisco. As soon as I did my CCNP and threw my resume out there, I was getting job offers left, right, and center, and which enabled me to get this new job. As soon as they saw that I had CCNP, they rang me the next day, like the same day actually. Yeah, you got CCNP. Would you like to be a teacher? So I've never done teaching before, but yeah, sure. Let's have a chat about that. They were starting to convince me that I should be part of their organization. CCNP, if you can find your way to do that, if you could dedicate yourself to 8 or 9 hours a day for about 6 months on top, this is after you've done your CCNA, and you get into that in 1 year's time, when you finish CCNP, sky's the limit. Okay, so we've been talking for about 35 minutes now, so I think that we'll leave it at that. I'm just starting this YouTube channel. Please click like, subscribe, comments, and let's just get this chat out there. I'm really just the reason I'm developing this website is, I'll be honest with you, for self-promotion, so that I can hopefully get teach students, other people out there in the world, some of my experiences, but to network, perhaps one day in the future, we could work together, or maybe I could teach you or you could teach me, whatever it is. But just getting, and this is what I recommend others to do, develop your LinkedIn, create a YouTube channel, create an online resume, and which is what I'm going to build now. So when your prospective employers, when you're throwing your resume out there, if you've got a web page, like a blog with like this YouTube content, which I'm showing you now, something like this, it's going to be a massive, massive, massive bonus and massive, a significant increase in the chances of you getting a really, really good job. So that's my motivation for myself, to build an online presence, to network, social networking, as well as employment networking as well. But because I'm working for such a great business at the moment, hopefully I can advertise the organization I'm working for, bring in more students, which will make my employers happy as well. So there's benefits for everyone, and by also having conversation with the people out there in the world, we could work together, and hopefully, you never know, maybe I've influenced you or you've influenced me, to be to inspire. So I mean, for example, I've been watching Network Chuck for a while. I haven't paid him 1 cent. I know he might get kickbacks here and there, but it's irrelevant. The knowledge I've learnt from Network Chuck, and also the other YouTuber that's on CBT Nuggets, I forgot his first name all of a sudden. What is it? It should come back to me in a second or two, but there's goodness, I'm gonna have to find it now. Where's my subscriptions? Even my family members have got YouTube channels now. So my son has his own YouTube channel. So yeah, look. I can't remember his name. But anyway, if I remember, I'll put in the comments below. I shouldn't forget it, because I learned a lot of my CCNA at the very beginning from this instructor. But anyway, let's leave it at that. We'll keep conversating later. But please subscribe, please like, comment, all that stuff. And this is something that I really want a lot of people to be involved in. And if you have any ideas or comments, or if you want to learn anything, I'm for my own students, I'm creating some Windows Server 2016 content at the moment, and I'll do some PowerShell. So you're more than welcome to look at that if you like. But in the meantime, thank you very much for popping over, and we'll hear from you soon.